Good morning. Come on over and have a seat. I got a couple of stories I'll tell you. Y'all might like this story about a 17-year-old kid who finally finds himself at the top of the world. Let me back up and go back a little bit to give you an idea of this. 1957 to 1959, probably before most or all of y'all were born, a 14-year-old boy was watching television one day and came across a show called High Adventure with a fella named Lowell Thomas. Now, if y'all hadn't ever heard of him, look him up on Google him. You can still find him, and you can even watch some of his shows. I happened to look it up the other day to make sure I was getting the dates right. But Thomas was an adventurer, and he was a filmmaker, and he went all over the world. And one of his adventures was called At the Top of the World or something like that. And it was in the Arctic, out of an air base called Thule, Greenland, and towards the North Pole. Now he did things on places like Egypt, Australia, the outback, and the deserts and things. I mean, he just went all over. And for a 14-year-old boy, that just excited me immensely. I was an avid follower for the 2 or 3 seasons that it was on. But in 1960, I decided that school no longer held any interest for me. That's another story. We'll get to that one of these days. I think it's kind of interesting how it came about. But anyway, I enlisted in the United States Air Force, August of 1960, and they sent me to Lackland Air Force Base, Texas, in San Antonio. Remember, I said it was August, and brother, it was hot. I can remember the first day we were standing in formation. Some of these folks had never heard about standing at attention and locking their knees. They were falling out. I mean, you could just hear them thudding as we were standing in formation. But anyway, I digress. Let me get on with the story. So anyway, after I graduated from basic training, we put in 8 weeks. It was, to me, it was like being at Boy Scout camp. I loved it. I thought basic training was some of the most fun I'd ever had. You marched around, they yelled at you a little bit, and then you went on and just did it and had a good time. That's what I did. Well, after I finished and graduated, they had assigned me to be a fireman. It was AFSC 57010. That 57 is a designation for fire department, and then 010 is your level of training, which meant I wasn't qualified for anything. But they didn't have a tech school open, and they hadn't decided where to send me yet, so they put me in what they called the grad barracks, if you graduated and waiting on orders. Well, I spent about 10 days working at the laundry there on base. The military's not going to just leave you standing. If they're not going to march you around and play games, they're going to give you something to do. I had a big job of taking in dirty laundry from the squadrons that were still in training. So anyway, one day this NCO comes up to me and said, report to the orderly room when you get through here. Got your orders in. So I reported to the orderly room, and the first shirt gave me a set of orders, and I was going to Thule Air Force Base, Greenland. Well, I knew where Greenland was and I knew where Thule was because I had watched High Adventures. I was kind of excited about it. They sent me home. I stayed home several weeks on leave. Then I got on a train out of Chattanooga, took the train from Chattanooga to Grand Central Station in New York City. That was quite a ride. That's another story too. I'll get to that one day too, but let's go on with this one right now. So I got there and I went to a place called McGuire Air Force Base. Well, they put me on a civilian transport at the time. I forget exactly what kind of plane it was. Well, at that time, everybody was still flying prop planes. There were jets, but because jet aircraft fought in the Korean War, but they were fighters and smaller planes. But anyway, all the transports and things, but this was civilian contract. So they they loaded up the plane and we flew out of McGuire Air Force Base. The next stop was Goose Bay, Labrador. We stopped there to refuel, offloaded. I remember going into mess hall, having a bite to eat. We got back on the plane, and my next stop was Thule Air Force Base, Greenland. Now by this time, we were talking the middle to end of October. It was already cold. When I got to Thule, it was about 40 below zero at the time. And at that time of the year, it already started into the dark period. We had something like 6 to 8 hours of daylight. The rest of it was dark. But anyway, got to Thule, Greenland. Well, come to find out, there were 26 of us, 010s, trained to do nothing, that were assigned to the fire department. Now, this is our government at work. They have transported 26 of us, thousands of miles, assigned us to a fire department. We didn't know one end of a hose from another. Well, to compound the problem, this designation, you were not supposed to, first of all, no 010 was ever supposed to be sent to a base like Greenland, a remote site, because you were supposed to be trained to do something. Well, let me hand it to the fire department. They buckled down, and within 2 months' time, they had gone from zero training to having a training regimen in place. I mean, they made up lesson plans. They came up with that met all the criteria of on-the-job training to qualify you for certain levels. We could go up to a 3.0 and a 5.0. So I'll hand it to them. Those NCOs buckled down, put it together, and within 2 months' time. Now, during this 2-month period, like I said, the government ain't gonna let you do nothing. They're gonna make you fall out and march around till you sweat or do something. Well, they took us 26 guys because although we were firemen and assigned to the fire department, and the fire department wasn't gonna give us back. They wasn't gonna say, no, we ain't giving them bodies back, because nobody in the military ever has enough people to do the job. They say, if you're in charge of something, you're gonna always want more bodies. Well, anyway, our overall assignments were given out by civil engineers, so they sent us different places to work. I ended up in a plumbing shop. Now, I didn't know beans about plumbing. I did already know the fundamentals, and the fundamental of plumbing is, if you know these few things, you can be a plumber. It's hot on the left, cold on the right, crap runs downhill and payday is on Friday. And if you know that, you can fit into a plumbing shop. Now, that's kind of a snide remark, but it kind of always thought it was kind of funny. But anyway, they taught me how, in that plumbing shop, they taught me how to thread pipe, various and sundry things. I learned how to weld copper and sweat joints, and I got pretty good at it. Nowadays, I look around at some of these projects in home construction, and my NCOs would have had an absolute cat if I'd have turned in work that looked like that. If he'd have come out and inspected a job I did, and as sloppy as they build houses these days, he'd have had me doing all kinds of special duties. But anyway, just to say that, I was a 17-year-old kid in a remote site in the middle of the Arctic, just a couple of 100 miles from the North Pole. I'm closer to the North Pole there than they are in Barra, Alaska. I was on a big adventure, so you never know when fate is going to put you right in the middle of something you dreamed about all your life. So I was a happy kid. So I spent a year in Thule, Greenland, became a fireman, really enjoyed it. I loved the fire department. I was glad that I got that. It gave me a career after the military if I wanted one. I didn't, I became something else. But I spent 8 years in the military and fought fires all over the world. So anyway, just to keep that in mind, never give up on dreams you have or things that surprise you. And folks, we'll see you next time on another tale on Stories from the Hill. Please look at the bottom. Click the box to the link down there, take you to our website. And we'll hope to see you and maybe a friend. Be sure if you had a good time and enjoyed the story, come on back and see us. And if you can, bring a friend with you. We'll be sitting here on the porch ready for you, and see you next week. Have a good day.